You follow your guide out of the village and onto the open steppe. The blank, snowy canvas, which seems to stretch to infinity before you, gives you mixed feelings. On the one hand, it makes you recollect challenging the wasteland 2 years ago near Krasnoznameni. On the other, your time roaming Trudograd's narrow and twisty streets has left you with an anxiety bordering on agoraphobia at the sight of this vast and pitiless vista. Shivering from the chill, the gravedigger moves towards the black grove looming on the horizon. This is where you will find the treasure of Professor Goryachev. It looks like quite a hike. Maybe you should find a way to pass the time. You slap Razin on the shoulder, and he speaks without slowing his pace. The city had it all. Taverns, markets, brothels. But this place, there's nothing fun around here. Ah, shit! Razin stumbles knee-deep into a hole hidden beneath the snow, and barely keeps from falling on his face. When he's recovered, the lieutenant continues. By the way, the folks from the village back there came to the police a bunch of times, whining about grave robbers looting the fancy burial sites. We didn't look into it all that seriously, of course. Maybe we should have. Razin complains for a few more minutes, focusing on the shortcomings of the deserted steppe compared with Trudograd. Then he starts cracking jokes and doesn't stop until you reach your destination, a lonely copse of trees in the middle of the steppe. Silence reigns in this lonely harbor, where the tall tree trunks deny the raging wind access to the sleepy shelter within. Before you've even taken a step, the gravedigger speaks up.
The going will be much easier from here. Snow isn't deep, and the trees keep out most of the wind.
He surveys the grove closely.
Just don't get distracted, all right? Stick to my path. These parts are generally safe, but the sooner we get back home, the better. And mine's gonna be the quickest route to our destination.
The gravedigger shrugs.
My nerves are not what they used to be. But don't get worried over nothing. I come here regularly, both on my own and with other folks. Just don't let yourself get distracted and all will be well.
You loop between tree trunks and gravestones protruding from the snow. Suddenly, your guide halts, so you almost stumble into him.
Hold up. There's someone there,
he says in a tense whisper, and points to a linden tree near the path. More precisely, he points out a dark silhouette, partially hidden behind the massive trunk, watching you. What makes you especially uneasy is that the enigmatic stranger isn't standing in the snow like you, but is 3 meters up, clinging to an ice-rimmed branch. Despite the figure's distance, your hawk-like eyes still winnow out a few more details. No steam of breath comes from its mouth, assuming it breathes at all, that is. Can you actually see anything but this guy's outline? 'Cause I can't see a damn thing, Razin states disdainfully. Your missile nails the furtive figure right between the eyes. This act, however, elicits no reaction from your mysterious opponent. The figure does not move nor shift its pose, nor does it return your attack or flee. It doesn't even make a sound. You carefully scurry from bush to bush until you're directly in front of the tree where the mysterious person is perched. You crane your neck back, and... the man in the tree is dead. He's frozen in place, hands fixed to the branches flanking him as he stares into the thicket with a grimace of horror that will remain on his face until spring. Against your will, your mind begins to wonder what evil force drove this poor fellow to such a tortured death. Your elderly guide crosses himself and carefully examines the frozen corpse.
Sapper's spade. Crowbar too. That feller there, he's a marauder, sure as sugar. A grave robber, you get me? Gotta wonder what spooked him so bad that he decided to freeze to death, though.
For you, the tree is no more difficult than climbing a ladder. Unfortunately, you can't remove the man's sapper shovel and crowbar, which are more tightly frozen to his person than he himself is fixed to the branches. But you do manage to recover 120 rubles from a torn pocket. You gracefully return to the ground level and prepare to... Trying not to think about the fate of the frozen man, you've walked another 20 meters before you come across a tent pitched alongside the path, almost hidden by fallen snow. It looks like it's been abandoned for some time. One panel is ripped open, its jagged edges flutter sluggishly in the burgeoning wind. The gravedigger shakes his head.
Just ignore it. There's a blizzard coming and we don't have time.
A tent torn open in the snow brings back terrible memories, Old Man Hexogen replies. It still pains me to recall how I scared those hikers in the Ural Mountains in '59. They didn't know our film crew was camped across the ravine, shooting Sasquatch versus the Capitalist, the 7th film of my highly successful horror franchise. I was shambling to the catering table in the midst of a blizzard, in my full-body Bigfoot costume. When they spotted me, they slashed their tent open to run into the wilds, half-clothed and spooked out of their wits. Your mind is turned to something that matters before he's finished the story. The gloomy howling of the wind is getting louder. You sense it may be building up to a blizzard. Deciding not to waste any more time on the tent, you continue on your journey. Your guide's mood seems to have improved somewhat.
We're almost at this grave of yours now. It's just beyond that hillock.
The elderly fellow apparently doesn't realize that he's here to exhume a corpse, not honor its eternal memory in your company. You're thinking how best to convey this difficult information when an unnaturally low, hoarse roar stops you in your tracks. Something rushes out at you from the shadows betwixt the darkened trees. In all your time in the wasteland, you've never seen anything like it. Puffing out its chest and hairy, drooping cheeks, something like a tall, skinny gorilla is loping towards you. That is, if gorillas had dirty white fur, jagged tusks, dimly glowing cat's eyes, and spiraling horns like a ram. Completely silent, which makes it even creepier, the creature shambles right on up to you, then turns to your elderly guide, the gravedigger. Fixed in the mutant's glowing gaze, the old man's mouth hangs open a bit, and he freezes as if hypnotized. Meanwhile, Hexogen attracts your attention and whispers,
Do not panic. That thing would have eaten us already if that was his intention. I'm sure he's here to beg for booze money. But don't give him a single ruble, child. Tell him to get a job.
You hastily raise your weapon and squeeze the trigger. There's no time to take aim, but the monster's only a few steps away now anyway. Unfortunately, things don't work out quite as you'd hoped. Faster than you can blink, the creature bounces out of harm's way, swipes aside the barrel of your weapon, and knocks you down. Before you can react, he's already swinging his mighty paw once more. You aren't quick enough to avoid this final, deadly blow. The monster's weighty paw descends right at you, but the blow never connects. Instead, the horned cousin of the legendary Yeti picks up your aged guide, the gravedigger, and ignoring his protests and cries, carries him off into the thicket. Lead-colored clouds are gathering above, and the snow is falling in thick gusts, threatening to cover the retreating monster's tracks. Soon, the landmarks you've been following will also be obscured. You will yourself to set aside the bizarre scene you just witnessed. It's high time you moved on. Cresting the hillock, you find a shallow glen. In the middle of this space, a shoddily lacquered cross protrudes from a snowdrift. Marina Goryacheva. She died as she lived, remembered by few. You read the text on a laminated plaque. The old professor is many things, but romantic is obviously not one of them. Cursing yourself for being an idiot, you wander through the canted crosses, until your toe hits something solid under the snow. Not believing your good fortune, you start clearing away the snow, and soon realize your find has nothing to do with luck. You stumbled upon a low fence of thick metal bars. After a little work, you pry one loose. Even a pointy iron bar is better than your bare hands. Little by little, you pack away the frozen soil. The hole grows a bit deeper, and a bit deeper still. Despite the cold, you're completely drenched in sweat when a nasty yellow something appears at the bottom of the pit. With a joy you never expected to feel at the sight of rotten wood, you realize you've reached the coffin. Now, you just need to open it. You instinctively flinch back as the lid comes free, but no fetid miasma rises from the coffin. All you find is a desiccated skeleton, still clothed in rags stiff with cold. But not everything in the box is withered and freeze-dried. Wrapped in several layers of cellophane and adhesive tape, you see a magnetic keycard marked with the inverter logo. Tucking the keycard safely away in a secret pocket, you suppress a sigh of relief. It's not time to relax just yet. You still have a couple hours work ahead of you restoring Mrs. Goryacheva's resting place. Only after paying a last tribute to the keeper of the key do you set off, muscles aching and breath nearly spent. The blizzard passed as unexpectedly as it started, so you make for the gloomy high-rises of Trudograd, clearly visible on the horizon.